I do want to start, though, as we've had an overview of the world. Julia's brought it down towards the racing industry. So, Hiroshi, can you just give us a flavor as to some of the moves that the JRA, for example, are taking in terms of what sustainability actually means for the JRA and what sort of actions you're taking?
Okay. Thank you, David. Thank you, everybody, for having me. To show respect to Australia, I wore my favorite tie. I usually have horses on it. Today, it's kangaroo. Sustainability for Japan Racing Association, it's a very difficult question. I think you know the United Nations established the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, in 17 areas, such as carbon neutral, reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. But for us, Japan Racing Association, the sustainability means more of the fundamental issues. As Mr. Goto, our President and CEO of the Japan Racing Association, mentioned in the first session, landscape. Japan Racing Association is a not-for-profit organization. We're strongly in public nature. JRA has a basic policy of operation. We have 5 items. The first one is very important, which says our priority lies with the customers. This customer means racing fans who support our sports, and it supports us by placing wager because the revenue from wagering is our main and biggest source of income for Japan Racing Association. Second one says together with the society and the community. It states the JRA will contribute to the development of sustainable and better society through organization of horse racing and to be a responsible member of the society. There's 2 legal backgrounds to it. First one, in Japan, is called a Horse Racing Act, which exempts us from criminal code and allows us to take wager on horse racing because the gambling is illegal in Japan. Second one is called the Japan Racing Association Act, which constitutes our activities that we undertake. We pay 10% of every dollar bet on our racing, which is a lot, and of which JRA Act states the 3/4 of payment must be used for the purpose of developing the agriculture and livestock. And another quarter must be used for the social welfare. That being said, further to the national treasury, JRA makes various donations out of our own budget for the common goods, such as we make donations to the firefighters, medical institutes. We undertake, we support university and medical institutes undertaking various agriculture research outside of horses, poultry, or swines. We also work with local municipalities where our race courses and OTBs are located to upgrade the environment, such as building parks and roads. We also visit local elementary schools and kindergartens with the horses, not thoroughbreds, ponies, to give them riding lessons. We undertake various initiatives to gain understanding to racing and try to contribute to the better environment life for the community. So, sustainability for JRA is to be accepted as a part of the community and the society, and which we believe that will lead us to the sustainable future. We hope Japanese racing fans will love racing for the excitement, the horses, people such as jockey and trainer, and various other aspects that we do, as much as we love them.
So in which case, Hiroshi, what are some of the initiatives that the JRA has implemented, and perhaps particularly in terms of dealing with the climate side of sustainability?
Climate side of sustainability, we do a lot of things. We do have like a solar panel on the top of the roof of the race courses. We do biomass combustion plants, which to process our waste comes out of our facilities.
Okay, so there's some concrete examples of what you're doing there. Julie, could I just ask, from what you showed us up on the last slide there, you're talking about EVs, and we've been given a sense of the scale of which EVs have got to grow in Australia or wherever it is in the world. I think for the racing world, they need big trucks. They need trucks and trailers. They need. I mean, does that work for EVs? Or we tend to think maybe hydrogen would be helpful for the bigger vehicles. How far could that work, and how realistically, how valuable is EV to an industry like racing?
So honestly, the technology is not there yet in terms of trucks, but we see if we consider, for example, the Nordics, where the EV penetration is quite high, there are several reasons to that. Policy incentives contribute to the economy and make people buy EVs, and technology research, of course. So it's a step-by-step kind of way forward. And first, maybe individuals will have EV, technology will develop, and then we can probably think about trucks with either hydrogen or electricity. But there are also other means. Not at the scale of Australia, obviously, but trains can be also an option. With freight, what is happening in Europe, transportation is changing a lot. So there are ways to tackle the transportation challenge, and it will come at some point.
That's huge infrastructural challenge to go with it. Yes, Tim, please.
I just wanted to add something. There's a fascinating new development in Australian mining, where a company called Oz Minerals, who have a big fleet of trucks that they have to transport their copper ore with, as the trucks get to the point where they need a new diesel engine, that company has found it more cost effective to retrofit the truck with batteries and run the 400 kilometres through the desert to the port, change out the batteries, swap them out with new batteries and send it back. So that's more cost effective than renovating the diesel engine. So there are some really interesting bit of left field things going on that might give us hope.
So that's rail, is it? Was that?
No, that's trucks.
Oh, that's
These
trucks.
are just
Sorry,
trucks.
I beg your
This
pardon.
is
Sorry.
diesel trucks, which are standard. Mining trucks are very large. Those big mining trucks, but they just don't. They take out the diesel engine, put batteries in, and these are swap out batteries. So the truck will run 400 kilometres to the port, and then swap the batteries out for new batteries, and they'll run back and pick up another load.
I mean, do you see that potentially as that could be a horse box solution?
Well, absolutely. Oz Minerals say this is the single most cost-effective sustainability initiative they've had. So I think it will change as we go on. For horse boxes, if you've got a horse box with an old diesel engine and you're looking at retrofit, upgrading it, go to batteries instead. It's probably going to save you money.
There is a problem here, it seems to me, that that's a great example. Julie's given some other examples. But as you said, government policy is everything. You gave us an extraordinary list there, Tim, of the sort of moves that have to be made in terms of drawing down another gigaton of CO2 per annum, of getting, tripling wind capacity, doubling solar by 2030, 6 times more clean energy by 2030. Everything that any sector is going to do is going to feel like, at best, a drop in the ocean, and the leadership needs to come from on top. There will be plenty of people thinking, well, there is one thing I can do, and that is just the way I vote, but there's not much else I can do. How do you persuade people there is more?
Look, I think that if you look at the leading examples around the world, so Scotland is a very good example. You know, they set a very aggressive climate target back in 2011, a 42% reduction. They did that because someone had read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, by the way, and knew that 42 was the answer for everything. And people said they would never achieve it. You know, they did it 4 years ahead of target. And that happened because the Scottish Parliament really enabled or empowered everyone in Scotland to do their bit. And industries took this on very seriously, and societies and farmers and others all took it on seriously. And each, by doing their own little bit, added up to quite a substantial change. So I do think that for industries like the racing industry, if you put sustainability front and centre in your thinking, you'll find there are many, many ways and opportunities exist to not only save the planet, but to save money. And I think that's really the future.
Julie? Yeah.
What is also important in that is to think about what is the value to switch to a more sustainable economy. It's not only financial, and there's some financial incentive, but as I was saying, and with the framework, so it's health value, it's community value. I mean, we need to think a bit broader than that, and it's not only tangible value, but intangible is very, very important, and we need to keep that in mind. That's what we call at Accenture the kind of 360 value. So yeah, financial value, sustainability value in terms of ESG, people value and community value.
In that regard, and we talked quite a bit about the pandemic, of course, and the impact that had on some of the environmental impact, not least. I think there's been a post-pandemic kickback on that to a certain extent, of a greater demand for other energies, including fossil fuels, of course. But how can you harness, Julie, technology, the digital platform? Gosh, we've been introduced to Web 3.0 here. How can you harness that in a sustainability way? And does it work? I mean, what's the sort of energy use for some of these platforms?
Obviously, the energy consumption for, data centers is huge. And we have more and more data centers just because of watching a video on YouTube is consuming electricity on a data center. And I mean, teenagers, I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I can tell she spends some time on her phone. They don't even realize that. So there's general awareness also and changing in people thinking about the usage. That's very important. And after that, some companies like Google are working a lot on green data centers and renewable energy to power their data centers. So that's also a shift that needs to happen, but that's a double speed. Awareness of people, we need to be all conscious of our habits, consuming electricity, and the shift to renewables and sustainable energy.
So, Hiroshi, how has the JRA been using technology in terms of sustainability, of overcoming some of these challenges?
For technology, there's a benchmark incident taking place in Japan. JRA is under the umbrella of the Ministry of Agriculture, Forest and Fisheries. The government announced last June its action plan for the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. They said the action plan is to reduce the greenhouse gas reduction by more than 50% by 2030. 50% meaning the 2013 as a base year. And the government requested all the government-related organizations, such as JRA, to abide by the government plan. So we had a structural change last year. We established the sustainability department and have in place that we will meet the reduction of the greenhouse gas emission by more than 50% by 2030, which is that we will do by, we currently have three places solar power plants on the top of the roof of the Tokyo Racecourse, Nakayama Racecourse, and inside of the jockey school. Three generates about 2.4 million kilowatts annually, which is sold to the electric company, but it would earn us about over $1 million annually. We'll introduce the zero energy buildings for our office buildings when we renew. We will be renewing finishing Kyoto Racecourse, which will open this April. Also, this is the host of Australian Day, the exchange race taking place in the May. So, looking forward to having you guys. And we will introduce the electrical vehicle and prepare charging infrastructure. We aspire for 100% LEDs, lighting, for our facilities. But moreover, we will use renewable energies. And we're looking for, by 2030, 60% of the electricity we'll use will be acquired from the renewable energy.
Tim, are those sorts of figures going to meet the targets? Do you think that's a sort of directional trend that needs to be seen across the piece?
Look, absolutely, they will help. All of that sort of stuff helps. And it sounds to me that what's happened in Japan is that the industry there has realised that this is an issue and has given it priority. And once you do that, you unlock a whole lot of things down the chain that make a difference in surprising ways. I'm sure that your employees have had an input into that scheme as well to make it better. Could I just tell a brief story?
Please.
I was doing some consultation work with the council in southern New South Wales who wanted to set an ambitious target for emissions reduction. So we had a big meeting, the mayor was there, all the councillors were there, and a lot of employees turned up. And it turned out that once we started talking, we found out that one of the world's experts on hybrid road maintenance vehicles worked for that council. There he was just waiting for his chance to do something. The workers at the local sewage farm had these wonderful ideas about saving energy, but because this hadn't been discussed in council and wasn't a priority, all of this potential remained locked up, really. And as soon as you set that target and make this front and centre, you'll find that there's a whole lot of people in your industry who can contribute in very meaningful ways to help achieve a target that looks initially to be formidably ambitious. But I've seen it again and again. It does happen once you set the direction.
So reach out to your community, whatever that community might be. Absolutely. There's scope to do that. You gave a very good example in terms of, just going to focus on waste management, of what happened here actually not that long ago in terms of dumping any old rubbish, any old ware. Hiroshi, this is an area where I think Japan has been, in the forefront of waste management, plastic recycling, for example, in particular. What have been the real learnings? Because that's been a long process now. It's not something you picked up yesterday. What have been the learnings from that perhaps could be transferred to others here?
We met the turning points in 2000, about 25 years ago, 2017, when COP3 met in Kyoto and agreed on the Kyoto Protocol for the reduction of the greenhouse gas. We didn't know, I think most of the officials didn't know too much about what importance we had to do. So we started from just recycling rubbishes. And we went to a program to recycle all of the rubbish waste that comes out. And we're proud to say, at the point, 89% of the waste that comes out of the JRF facility in operation is recycled. One thing is we faced major issue was that out of all the waste that we produce, 80% comes out from our training center of used beddings. For instance, we have 2 training centers in Japan we operate, one in the western region, one in eastern region. Each house 2,000 stalls, 2,000 horses, and we built biomass combustion plants in Rito Training Center, Western Region. And we found out that every day, training center it remits 56 tons of used beddings, which had to be recycled. So the biomass combustion plant is in operation since 2021, of which it processes over 4.3 tons of the beddings to generate electricity, and which amounts up to annually 3 million kilowatts, which amounts up to about 50%, 52% of the electricity needed to run the retail training center. And every day, also from the amount of the bedding we burn, about 1.5 tons of ash comes out, which is also used as a soil modifier, like a cement, for reusable material.
So there's a huge amount that clearly can be done and is being done there. I've just got a question actually that's come from one of you out in the audience, and it's reflective of what we've heard a lot of, Tim, over the last day and a half, which is about the next generation, the newcomers who need to be attracted into the sport of racing. It is this, having heard a lot about the next generation of fans, how important is it that sports like racing act sustainably to attract that next generation? So I think it comes back to your point about what young people expect, not just want.
Look, I think that is the key question for the industry in the longer term. How do you attract that younger generation? And, we have to look at it from their perspective. So I have children a bit like you. I've got, but mine are in my early 30s, so they're a little bit older. But, when that younger generation look at us, they see a very affluent group of people who, by and large, own their own houses and can travel the world on holidays and whatever we want. Far fewer of us are vegan. Even though we can afford solar panels on our roofs, often we don't have them, and we might be driving a big petrol car. And they understand the science and see the fact that we're very close to the tipping point that's going to really impact on their future. So this whole idea of sustainability just must be addressed. From their perspective, it is one of probably the single most important issue that they would look at. So if you do the right thing, you will open the door to that engagement. And young people, you're so fortunate that horses are at the heart of your industry. Everybody loves horses, young people. So the potential's there, but we have to start acting responsibly in their eyes, I think, to attract that group in. And give them opportunity, give them a chance to make a difference.
Yeah, Julie.
Yeah, maybe I can give another example, because all the industries is concerned about attracting new talents and young generation. And the oil industry, for instance, is also struggling with that. And I had on my team some people that just refuse to come to work for oil and gas clients, just saying that I don't want to work for this industry. And these people are just traveling by train, and so they're very much concerned about that. But I think the industry needs to shift. And I would take my French background as an example. Total, so the French oil and gas company, changed recently the name to Total Energy, is not switching to renewables, to different kind of energy, so completely changing the image. Okay, they are still doing their heavy operations, and we need it anyhow, but changing, the brand and the vision of the future is very important, and that kind of shift should happen in every industry.
Still a huge amount of skepticism when a brand name is changed, of course, from Total to Total Energy. It'll take time, won't it? That's going to take time. We used to have Statoil, didn't we? I can't remember what they're called now. But
BP is now beyond petroleum.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah. Yes, quite. So one last point, really, Tim, and it's this, that we're looking at ways in which racing, for example, must recognise the expectations of a young generation. But racing is a huge sport, and we all know sport has this amazing power of influence. So it's sort of double-edged sword, isn't it? You need to do it if you want to hold on, but you have so much potential to direct traffic in terms of sustainability, of frankly, a better climatic way of living.
That is just so true, David. Absolutely. I mean, sporting heroes are our heroes. They're people we look up to for many reasons, but for inspiration and so forth. And racing is no different. And, you know, the power that this industry has should not be underestimated. You have enormous power for good and for change. I just think of everyone from your farm managers through to your breeders, through to the people doing every job in the industry. Every one of those people can contribute really meaningfully to a much better, greener industry with a much brighter future. So setting the direction for those who are industry leaders is absolutely critical. The last thing that anyone would like to see is an industry like this stuck in a series of past practices that then alienates it, as you were saying with Total, and people just not wanting to work for it. People just won't want to be associated, whether they're punters or people who work in the industry. And that's that can change. You could become an absolute leader rather than a kind of pariah, and that would be great.
Going back to your very first slide to close on, perhaps the best time to have started working on a greener attitude to our climate was 1865, but the second best time is today. So move on it now. Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to put your hands together for our panel? Thank you very much indeed.